her first book that was published by the family in Hastenwind, which is such a wonderful title. I mean, Hot Wind. Was eventually my cousin Francis, who lives in Paris, was able to find a group of translating students in the Sorbonne who were interested in taking this on. And they did, and they made a French to Yiddish to French version. And that was my first real access, since I knew French, to the poems in an extensive way. You know, maybe there was one or two, but the other piece of that access came through the feminists who were interested in finding, you're saying there's only men who wrote. I mean, as I said before, the notion that Irving Howe can provide us with the entire gamut of poetry and doesn't. So the feminists were looking and looking, and then started to translate, and their contribution has been multiple, and gave access probably to people like yourself to this wonderful poet, you know, and gave it also, but it also gave it to me, you know. So
what was it like when you first really read more of her work?
Well, there were stories, and I liked the stories a lot. Oh, isn't she strong? Oh, isn't she tough, if you will? Isn't she, boy, she's writing about topics that are very difficult, you know? She's writing about suicide. She's writing about unfulfilled love. She's writing about rejection. And she's writing about her own, whatever the character is, her own response to these major rejections in her life, and doing it in a way that I would say we all could see ourselves as having experienced some of those situations that were so difficult for women and men and women, you know, relationships together. So it was, I think I've always been, partly because I haven't taken the Yiddish to be mine, and partly thinking of it in a way as a should. Oh, I should this and I should that. So I was late, if you will, in coming to, not in appreciating her, because I think I always appreciated her, even not understanding the extensive impact that she had before she was discovered, because she was part of a generation of writers. And then when she was discovered by all of the women that were more or less of my generation, not even talking about, you know, my mother's generation. And my mother was a poet, and my mother was probably a poet partly because her mother was a poet. I just, I think, oh, each time I think in a certain way, it's an exposure that feels new when I read it. And, is that what she thought? Or, look at that. But I think it's others of the family who have sort of taken her life up to be more visible than me. At least that's the way it seems to me.